Hey, what's up, you guys? WWE fan 0599 here again. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I've never done this before. This is going to be a history of something. Now, this is a new series I want to maybe try and do, maybe for other stuff once, other big things come out. But I'm going to sorry. But for the first time, I'm going to be doing this on a game series that I love. I've recently gotten to this game series and I fell in love with it. I now consider it the greatest game series of all time because it's just incredible. And that is Uncharted. We're going to go through all three Uncharted games: Uncharted 1, Drake's Fortune; Uncharted 2, Among Thieves; and Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. So, I'm going to let my guest introduce himself. So, go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, what's up, everyone? GorTheMovieGod. I'm talking about video games. How you doing? Uncharted, great series, love it. I want to talk about it. First three games, amazing. Can't wait for the fourth one. And we're going to talk about our experiences with it. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
There you go.
Not much else to say. Yes, that is GorTheMovieGod. And we're here to talk about the Uncharted games. So I think we should not waste any time. Let's take the DeLorean and let's go all the way back 10 years ago. But exactly 10 years ago now to E3 2006.
Oh, okay.
Now, the PlayStation 3 was having a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was struggling. There was no games that nobody wanted to buy for that system, and the system was very overpriced. Yep. It was becoming a disaster.
The only thing was like Resistance. That was about it.
Yes.
And you could play PS2 games. That was about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So. But one saving grace. Naughty Dog was going to develop a new game, and it was under the title Big. That's what it was called. I believe it was like Big or something like that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it was under wraps for a lot of months. They didn't know what the project was going to be until when we saw E3 2006. We saw footage of a guy basically, and he's fighting through a bunch of enemies. He's looking for a treasure, and then we see at the end, the Naughty Dog logo. It wasn't even revealed what the title was.
Oh.
Then later on, we would find out that the title of the game would be Uncharted: Drake's Fortune. And about, I believe, a year later, we get to see the game came out and really saved the PS3 from going through a disaster.
Yeah.
Like, this was the reason you wanted to buy a PS3, was these games.
Yes.
So I'm going to let my guest take the floor really quick and talk about his experience with Uncharted: Drake's Fortune, what he thought of the game.
Uncharted: Drake's Fortune, it's a great game, and it's a great way to start the series. One thing I really liked about Uncharted: Drake's Fortune, Drake's Deception is the third one. Drake's Fortune was that the characters, the way they introduced them was so refreshing for a video game, because they don't give you tons of backstory for these characters. It was just like we just joined them, like out of nowhere. We're just with them, and we get to learn about them along through the game. And at that point in 2007, that was like something kind of new for a video game like that, a big budget, like adventure style game. Like any other game would just straight up just go whatever. It's just action and explosions, and sometimes the main character says something witty. But for the most part, that game wasn't like that. That game had plenty of witty stuff in it, but it would take time to make you care about the characters, which I really enjoyed. But the game itself was so much fun, and it made me really remember the days of when we had old adventure movies like Indiana Jones and all that stuff. Except it's a video game, obviously, so you get way more of all the good stuff. And I loved Uncharted. I really did. I didn't end up playing it until 2 years after it came out, sadly, because I didn't have a PS3 until 2009. But it was still an amazing game. And at that point, it wasn't outdated at all. I wish I had it when it first came out, so I played it when everybody was talking about it. But it was a great game. So yeah, Uncharted: Drake's Fortune, excellent. I love that game. I really do. And it's a great way to start off the series. And I highly recommend, because I know that game didn't do extremely well when it came out. It did very well over time. Like it would sell good amount of copies every week, but it wouldn't like do gangbusters. And it sold well, but not many people played it compared to 2 and 3. So I highly recommend playing that before the fourth one comes out, just in case you haven't yet. Great game. I love it.
Yeah, and by the way, I apologize for the audio thing. I was just trying to do the live chat and see what the live chat was saying. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. Thank you for watching, watching this with us. So what are my thoughts on Drake's Fortune? I've done already reviews of all 3 of these games already, but like for the main reasons what he said, it feels like those old school classic adventure movies, like Indiana Jones or, stuff like that. And I just really enjoyed this game. This is a really fun, enjoyable, good time. I just had a blast playing this game.
Yeah.
I love the characters. Obviously, Nathan Drake, he's, a wise guy. Like, and just the humor. I feel like not a lot of people talk about the humor with these games. I mean, this has some of the funniest humor you'll ever see in a video game.
Yeah.
Like when Drake says to Sully, "Wow, a man only interested in the climax. You must be a real hit with the ladies. Not had any complaints yet." Just stuff like that, people. I mean, that's just the beginning of it. You know what I mean? It's just great. And I just love that back and forth between all the characters and stuff. It's just absolutely incredible. And, like I said, I love Drake. He's my personal now favorite video game character of all time. And you can really relate to him in some ways because he's a normal dude. He's not like some sort of supernatural being or whatever. He's a normal guy who just happens to be really good at climbing things.
He can hold his body weight with his fingertips.
Exactly. But like I say, he's a very interesting protagonist. You got other great characters like Sully, who I really enjoy as well throughout all these games. Elena, who's now my personal favorite female character in a video game, because I know a lot of people love the duo of, Nathan and Sully more. I personally like whenever Nathan and Elena are together because, I don't know, it's just something better in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was unique for that kind of game where any other game would be like, that's just she's the damsel in distress. She's she's the love interest, which she is, no big spoiler there. But I really like that. There's even a part in Uncharted I remember because it was so unique to the style of game or even movie, where the main character, he's just like, I don't want to do this. I'm scared. I want to get out of here. He's like, because so many times you have that character that's a badass and he'll fight everybody. He'll get out of there. I mean, he'll get in there and kill everyone. In this game, there's a part where Nathan's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm scared. All right. I'm scared. And I want to leave. And Elena's the one that tells him, no, we have to go in there and do this. And I really like that. I like that the main character is not just a heroic badass. He's like, no, I don't want to. I can hold my body weight with my fingertips, but I can't do this. I can't kill all these guys. And yeah, I really like that. I like that. It's unique for a video game at that time. Now we have plenty of games like Last of Us, which is also made by Naughty Dog, where where they treat the characters with realism. But it was great game, great characters. Also, one thing before I go back to you, Uncharted 1 had a very limited cast of characters. Really, it was only you had Sully, you had Nathan, you had Elena,
Eddie.
Wait, who?
Eddie Roger.
Yeah, Eddie Raja, and then the villain. That was pretty much it, right?
Yeah, it had a limited supplies of characters.
Yeah.
When we get to 2 and 3, there's a whole bunch of characters, but and like you said, I do agree with you on that. Like, if he feels human, like you said, he's like, I'm scared. I don't want to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's very different because. And also with Elena, she's not like the damsel in distress. You know what I mean? Sure, she is the love interest, but she's just as tough as Drake is. And it's not like overly tough. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm a chick and I'm tough. You know what I mean? Like, it's the perfect way that they did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And
Nice balance.
Nice balance between the characters. The gameplay, I think, is really good in
Yeah.
this one.
Hmm.
Sure, it does have its mishaps and flaws in between this game, but for the most part, it's really good, the gameplay.
Hmm?
You know, I know a lot of people complain about the shooting and stuff. I personally like it. You know, it's not the greatest shooting I've ever played in a video game, but it's not as bad as everyone puts it out to be.
Yeah, no, Uncharted 1 has its like a fair amount of glitches. Like I'm playing the remaster version now, and even in the remaster, there's plenty of glitches. Like parts where you just like start walking in place, or the character goes into T pose, you know, for the mocapping and stuff. There's glitches like that, and you know, people fall through the map. But for the most part, it's a very well made game. It's still a really good looking game, even without the remaster. And yeah, it's just a ton of fun. It has tons of different set pieces and stuff, which are really fun to go through. And yeah, I think it's a great game too. Um,
Yeah, like you said, just sure, it doesn't have the greatest, like, you know, there are glitches here and there and stuff, but it still has a real good balance with the gameplay. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I do think they do a really good job with the gameplay personally.
Yeah, they do a
Oh,
good job of mixing it up, like it's gunplay, then platforming, then maybe a driving sequence. Then there's a part where you have to like. I remember there's a part where you have to climb onto the like a truck or something, or a train, I think. And there's guys trying to fight you, and you're hanging off the sides of it and shooting along when you're like moving across it. I can't remember if it was a train or a few trucks that you have to keep jumping towards, but there's a lot of different variety in the gameplay that makes it never boring. And yeah, one thing I have a problem with Uncharted is that they always want to add stealth. In the stealth portions, even in Uncharted 2 and 3, I never cared for. I rather just go and run and gun and whatever. But yeah, I don't think the stealth like ever works. But besides that, it's a good balance of gameplay for sure.
and yeah, personally, I've always liked the stealth. I don't know, you know, I've always enjoyed the hand-to-hand combat and the stealth and stuff like that. I've always those are always a lot of my favorite parts of the games, honestly.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
no, I can see why people liked it, but
Uncharted Drake's Fortune, like we said, it's a really enjoyable game. It was a really nice start to the series. You know, my experience with it, for all these games, it's going to be with the Nathan Drake collection because I didn't get to play the games until I got the collection for the PS4. And, you know, we are going to talk about some key moments from these games. So if you've never played these games, do not watch this part. So there are going to be spoilers. So
yeah.
do not watch this part of the video if you don't want to, you know, get spoiled of it. So, yeah. So we're going to talk about some key moments, some moments that really define the game in our opinions. So I'm going to let you go first. What are some of your favorite moments from the video game, from Uncharted Drake's Fortune?
Well, I mentioned that I can't remember if it was a train or do you remember that part where you had like you're on it? I think it is a train where you're on it and you're hanging off the sides of it and you're shooting enemies and stuff. I remember that part and I really enjoyed that part. I really enjoyed the driving sequence. Like it's like maybe like 3 hours into it with Elena, and I really enjoyed that one. Um, once you find out what the mystery is towards the end, it's very supernatural at that point because you find out it's like really like
They're like Dark Seekers.
yeah, they're like zombies pretty much. They're chasing after you. And there's a part where you have to run out of a tunnel and you're just shooting behind you when these things are coming, like running after you. I thought that was really good. Like out of nowhere, it just became a horror game. I'm like, oh, and I'm just like running, shooting these guys chasing after me. And there's a lot of moments like that. But yeah, those are probably my favorite moments. Just like out of nowhere, stuff just goes wrong. Especially towards the end, where out of nowhere zombies. But yeah, those are probably my favorite moments.
Yeah. And some of the moments that really define the game, in my opinion, there are three. One, the opening scene, like just when you just get introduced to these characters for the very first time. This is your very first time seeing these characters. You know what I mean? And just, you know, there's going to be something special. You can just feel it with that opening scene with them talking. Like when when Drake hands Elena the gun, he's like, "Do you know how to shoot one of these?" And she says, "You know, yeah, sure. It's like a camera. You point and shoot, right?" I
Yeah,
was like, "I'm gonna like these characters." Like just from that scene alone, you know what I mean?
yeah. There's a really quick transition from cutscene to gameplay and then back to cutscene, and both the cutscene to gameplay and the cutscene right after that make us really like the characters, and that's like the first 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah,
And it makes us invested in the quest, even though we don't really know who they are yet. Like we don't know who Nathan is yet, but we find out later on in the game, of course, and we find out way more in Uncharted 2 and especially Uncharted 3. But yeah, so I agree definitely. Like the beginning just starts off in such a way that you're just like invested immediately.
definitely. The other one is like I know it's a simple moment, but when you discover that ship, it's like the first big thing you discover in the game. Like, and just that wide shot where they show the whole ship.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
just great. Like you feel like you accomplished something. It's your first time finding something huge
yeah,
in these games. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. In the remaster version, it looks even better. Like I don't know
Exactly.
if you played the remaster version or the PS3 one, but the remaster one looks really good. And like just the giant U-boat in the middle of the ocean, it's really it looks great. And going inside it, having to figure out how to get on top of it and go inside it, it was awesome. Yeah,
Yes.
that's one of mine too.
And the final one I want to talk about is like you just said, the supernatural element that's
Yeah,
just revealed from out of nowhere
yeah,
within the third act.
yeah.
Like,
You find out there's these creatures that are like guarding something or something like that. I can't remember, but just out of nowhere, creatures.
yeah, the El Dorado, like what they thought was Sir Francis Drake was trying to go get El Dorado. No, he was trying to stop them from getting El Dorado because it's a curse, this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And the way they do it is just great. Like, you know, like with the whole thing, like we said with the supernatural element, it just comes from out of nowhere.
mm-hmm.
Like for boom, like out of nowhere, supernatural element.
Yeah,
And that was really cool. And it was really surprising as well.
yeah.
And because you don't expect like
No,
zombie like creatures to come from out of nowhere in these games.
yeah, no, definitely not. You expect a little bit more in Uncharted 2, but I can't remember if they're like pretty much like frost.
Uncharted 2 we'll get more into what's the supernatural element of that game.
Yeah, yeah. You expect it more later on in the series, but yeah, in the first one, it's just out of nowhere. It's just like, oh, okay, zombies. They're pretty much zombies. They're fast-moving zombies, and you want to get out of there the first time you see them.
Yeah, I was freaked out at first, like because, like I said, I didn't see it coming. Like I didn't, like I said, I didn't expect this game to go into a supernatural element.
Yeah, yeah. It actually reminded me of the first time I ever played Halo, and I don't know if you played Halo, right? The first one.
I've never really gotten into
No?
those games, but you could talk about it.
Okay, there's a part in the first Halo where there's these alien parasites called the Flood, and you get to this mission where it's just like this planet it's all dark and just it's all like mysterious and stuff, and you don't know what the hell's going on, and you go into this building and out of nowhere you just see these like head crabs and like guys that were like, it was like The Thing, if you ever saw that movie, where out of nowhere just these guys that were just like morphed around and just like just showed up out of nowhere and you have to fight them off, and it was really creepy, very very tense. And that's what it reminded me of. Just out of nowhere stuff just went down, and you had a lingering like a lingering fear that something was going to happen like that, and then it did, and you're like, oh, I wasn't really ready for that. Yeah, Uncharted did that excellent.
Yeah. Now, you know, Uncharted Drake's Fortune, really good game. Really enjoyed it.
Great game.
You knew a sequel was coming from this game with the success of it, how it did and everything, the praise it was getting. You knew it was getting a sequel, and yes, it was announced. Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, would be coming.
Yeah.
But yeah. Then, you know, at E3 they announced, of course, Uncharted 2, and just, you know, they showed a little bit of footage. What they showed the train, like the whole thing where the opening, you know, of course, the opening to Uncharted 2, we see the whole train and everything. That's the first bit of footage they ever showed from the game, and you were like, is this going to be something more than just a game? Then let's cut to 2009 when Uncharted 2 Among Thieves came out. It
Yeah.
blew everybody away, this
Mm-hmm.
game. This was something much more than just a video game. This was something special. And I now consider Uncharted 2 Among Thieves the greatest game ever to be made, because just the way how this game prevails in its story and in its gameplay, it makes it feel like more like a cinematic movie than it does a video game. You know, the year before, Metal Gear Solid 4 tried to do that, but that felt way too much, more like a movie than it was a video game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But this had the great balance of cutscenes and gameplay. Like, it had the best balance ever. I'm trying to look for the words for it, but actually you can't, because there is no words for it.
Right.
It's just breathtaking, this game. And, I'm going to let my guest, why do I keep on saying my guest? I'm going to let Gore decide, talk about it first.
Well, all right. Uncharted 2, I played right after Uncharted 1 because I got both of those games for Christmas on PS3, and I love Uncharted 2. That is an excellent game. That probably the closest to perfect a game got in 2009. And Uncharted 2 did everything that Uncharted 1 did that was right, and just got it even more right. And they got everything that Uncharted 1 did wrong and got it completely right. I say I don't like the stealth in Uncharted. I just don't like stealth in games that just don't need it. Like, I don't feel like Uncharted needed stealth. It's an adventure game. You don't need the stealth. Like, if I wanted to do stealth, I'd play Hitman. I'd play Dishonored. Well, Dishonored wasn't out then, but I play Metal Gear Solid, like we mentioned. Uncharted is an adventure game where every 10 minutes something explodes and Nathan gets smashed against a wall, and he goes, oh god, and then he gets up and he starts shooting about 20 dudes. I don't need stealth. And the first thing you do in that game, Uncharted 2, is you're hanging off of a train. You don't even know how you got there. Even Nathan's like, wait, what? I'm shot. Like, he doesn't even remember what happened, and he has to get off the train and find out what's happening. And then you find out, like, of course, that was a flash forward, and you go and flash back, so you figure out what's happening, why he was on that train. And it's really, 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 I wouldn't say unique, but it's really well done, and it's done better than I've seen in any game where they do flash forwards and flashbacks and stuff, because you're always like, oh, what's going on? I want to know. But you also want to get him off that train as fast as you can and get him to some help, because he got shot and he's on a train and he wants to get off of it because it's about to fall. So it does it so well. It's just a great beginning to an amazing game, and that's probably what my favorite moment of the game, just period, because I wasn't ready for just out of nowhere train. Like, I'm on a train, I have to get off of it, and it looks beautiful. It still looks beautiful. Remastered looks even better. It's one of the best moments in any game ever, I would say, and the whole game is filled with best moments ever in any game ever. So yeah, that's just a great beginning to an amazing game. The stealth itself, I don't care for, but they did it right. I just don't care for stealth in games. So everything they did right before, they got even more right. Everything they got wrong before, they got right. So they did pretty much everything right. Closest to near perfect, closest to perfect I've seen in 2009. Since then, Last of Us and other games have gotten pretty close. So yeah. There you go. That's my opinion. I think Uncharted 2 is an amazing game, and probably my favorite scene of the game is the beginning, actually. So,
yes. Where do I begin? Like, where do I begin? Okay, from the opening scene alone, I was like, I knew Uncharted 1 was really good, but is this about to be like more than just a video game? You know what I mean? Because I was asking myself that question, because I've heard so much about this game. I was like, is the hype really going to live up? And did it ever?
It did.
Because I love this game. I adore it now. This is my favorite video game of all time. if I really had to sit down and think about it, it's now my favorite video game of all time. And like I just said, I now consider it the greatest game ever made because, like I said, the nice balance between story and gameplay, and they just expand so much from its original game. You know, you get a lot more characters around in this game. You
Hmm.
know, of course, we have Drake, Elena, Sully, but now we have Harry, we have Chloe, we have Lazarevich, just so many characters.
Hmm. Yeah.
And Lazarevich is one of the best villains I've seen in a video game because this dude just doesn't care. He
Yeah.
doesn't care what happens to you. He just wants what he wants.
Yeah. He's a baddie. No, that's for sure. Uh, he's Russian, right? Remembering that correctly, right?
Yeah, he's Russian.
Yeah.
You're right. He's
Yeah.
Russian.
Russians are bad guys. Watch out for them. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
but yeah, Lazarevich was a very, very intense film. His introduction, when you see him, you know, of course he kills the cameraman, you know,
Yeah.
just like that just goes to show you he doesn't care. Like yeah, I remember the line, he was like, you know, oh, you brought him all the way here? Well, that's a shame. And just shoots him. That just goes to show you he, like I said, just doesn't care. He'll do whatever he has to do to, you know, get his way. And that's a great villain. That's a great way to do a villain, in my opinion, you know, because some of these video game villains could be to just say, same old, haha, I want to take over the world, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
no, there's something much more. He wants power. He wants everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we'll get more into what he wants later on when we talk about our moments. But
Yeah.
just the gameplay is so excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the shooting, I mean, it was really good in the first, you know, Uncharted, even though, like we said, it had its flaws and everything. They just elevate in this game. The shooting is incredible in this game. I love the shooting with the game because, you know, it is a third-person shooter, you know, and I know a lot of people have, like, oh, like I've said, oh, well, Drake's, how could they say Drake's a normal dude? He's practically a mass murderer. He kills everybody.
Yeah.
It's just for gameplay reasons,
Yeah,
people.
gameplay.
Like,
Gameplay is not a normal.
it's for gameplay reasons.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Imagine these games wouldn't be as fun if you got shot once and that was it. Like, and then you have to restart from last checkpoint every time you get shot. Gameplay wise, yes, it's not realistic, especially when he's hanging from like a ledge, or he might even be hanging with one arm from a ledge while he's shooting someone else. Like, it's not realistic. We get that, but the story itself, when they present him as a character in the story and the cutscenes and the dialogue, it is, especially with the voice acting. We haven't mentioned the voice acting, actually. The voice acting from everybody is top notch.
Oh yeah, yeah. We forgot to mention that, but the voice acting, incredible. Everybody's incredible in this game. Like, and Nolan North, who plays Nathan Drake, goodness, this is a performance. Like, you know, Nolan North, I personally consider to be the best video game voice actor and just the best voice actor in general because this dude can do anything. Like, really, he can do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, he can be the likable Nathan Drake and he can be the devious cannibal David in The Last of Us.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
That's just how versatile this guy can be.
Yeah,
And,
like
you know,
him and Troy Baker are like top notch, both of them, and both of them being brothers in Uncharted 4 is perfect because they're the two probably the best voice actors we have now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's just great.
Yeah.
And well, what else was I gonna say? Of course, everybody else that plays in these games, like of course Emily Rose as Elena, she's great as well. Claudia Black as Chloe. I always forget the guy that plays Sully. What's his name?
Richard McGonigal, I think. You know, let me look.
Yeah. I know his name. Yeah, I think his first name is Richard, but yeah, he's great as well. He'll just everybody just does such an incredible job. And like we said, not to mention again, but the gameplay is just fantastic. Like we said, the shooting's better, the combat is definitely better, you know, and for the whole entire time, like no shooting happens for like the first, you know, I want to say like half an hour of the game, honestly.
Yeah.
all it
barely
is,
any shooting. Yeah.
like, all you do is stealth, basically. I had a difficult time at first with the stealth because I was trying to get used to it, but I got the hang of it really quick, and I was really enjoying it. You know, especially that one chapter where you have to take out all the guys in the museum.
Yeah.
Or, and like we said, the dialogue. The dialogue is even better in this game. Like, when, I'll never forget this moment, when we have to take, Harry says, hey, there's a guy above you. We take him out, like, we push him off, and then he goes, there's a guy below you, there's a guy below you.
Yeah. That was a good.
Because, yeah.
There's a guy above
And,
you, and you push him. There's a guy below you. Yeah.
and when he takes out the, tranquilizer guns, he's like, luckily I brought some of these, and Nathan's like, oh, great, guns, what are those going to do for us? And he said, calm down, like, I forgot what he called him, but he said, like, calm down or something like that. I just always found that funny because he was over-exaggerating.
Yeah.
Or when, like, Drake and Elena are going to go to the train station, and, you know, Drake's like, okay, I'm going to go over there. I need you to stay. I'm not staying over. Will you let me finish? You never let me finish. Like, just stuff like that, man. It's just incredible.
Great dialogue.
It's perfect. And I just love that about Uncharted 2. Like, you know what I mean? And just some of the character moments. And what also I also love is that they never make it a love triangle between Drake, Chloe, and Elena. They never make it a love triangle.
No, at first it seemed like that's what they were going to do, but not really, no. It's like at the end, it's just like, oh, okay, bye. I was like, oh, all right. I thought it was going to be a big deal at the end of, like, him choosing her over Chloe or whatever, but no. And then, you know, it was all good.
Yeah, it was just, Chloe was like, okay, whatever. Like,
yeah, it's like, all right. Yeah, no,
but yeah, I just love that they never. It did seem like that at first, but you know, it just seemed like a good team. It seemed like teamwork. You know, they just made it to be great teamwork between the three of them, especially when you get towards the end of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, there are so many moments to talk about in this game. Like, there are a bunch. So I'm gonna let you go first and talk about some moments that really define this game in your opinion.
Okay. Well, I talked about the beginning, where, of course, the whole train sequence. That's probably the best sequence in the game. Not saying everything else is bad, or not, you know, definitely not. But there's one moment that I absolutely love because out of nowhere, it just everything goes down. Like, he's in a village. I think it's the village that treats his bullet wounds. And out of nowhere, a tank shows up. I remember that. And I think a helicopter too. Wasn't there a helicopter also? And just things just go down. And again, that's probably my favorite part about Uncharted. Just out of nowhere, it makes sense. It's not like it's just out of nowhere stuff happens. It makes sense why it happens, but just like out of nowhere, there's no buildup. Just out of nowhere, tank and then helicopter. Everything wants to kill Nathan Drake really badly. Everything. And that's probably my favorite moment. There's also that, of course, that moment where he's running away from the truck and you have to like shoot it while running, which is probably, I think that's probably the most classic scene in that game that isn't the train sequence. That's the one that every time someone did a review for it back in 2009, that's the clip they would always play to talk about how amazing the set pieces are. That part is just, I don't know, where you're just running away from a truck that's trying to hit you and you're just shooting it. It's great. The moments like that just really made it an excellent experience. It wasn't just a game. Like, gameplay wise, it was great, but the whole experience, just watching all this stuff happening, especially if you had a huge TV, it was amazing to look at. It was so much fun too. It really put you in a $200 million blockbuster movie. It was so good. It really was. Any other moments I love? There's so many really good moments, but overall, I would say
when you and Chloe are like, how about that one?
Wait, which one?
Where the helicopter is chasing after you and Nate and Chloe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was a good one too. I think there's a part at the end where, of course, it reveals itself as another supernatural.
The Guardians.
Yeah, when what are they, like giant frost apes or something like that? At first they look like giant like apes or whatever, and then don't you find out they're like just guys in clothing?
Yeah, they were like giant yetis at first, but no, you find out they're were just guardians trying to protect the city of Shambhala, which
just out of
yeah.
nowhere, it goes crazy again at the end. And this one had more of a build up. Like the first one was just like out of nowhere zombies. This one, it was like we have to go to Shambhala, and then people were talking about. I remember people talking about like there's a legend about like people that guard this place. I think the village that he was in talks about that or whatever. And then there was that build up, and then of course you find out there is something going on. It wasn't as crazy as the first ones, but it was a really good moment where just out of nowhere you're fighting something new, and you really do fight them in this game. You do fight these giant ape creatures pretty much. Then you find out they're just people. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, so overall, just the entire game is a great experience, just a great moment. But there's so many really good character moments throughout. Like there's one in the beginning of the game. You're talking about with Flynn and Nate. Where Nate's just like, hey, we're gonna go in like Flynn. And he's like, wait, I don't get it. In like, whatever. And never mind. And yeah, there's just great dialogue moments too. It's not all just explosions.
Like Elena is talking to Chloe, like, hi, I'm Elena, last year's model, like stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes me want to play it again. Just talking about it. Uncharted 2, it really makes me want to play that game again. Yeah, Uncharted 2 is a great game. Just overall, we've said it over and over again, but it's a near perfect game in my opinion. And maybe looking at it now, it's been 6 years. It's been so long since that game came out. Maybe looking at it now, it might have dated a little bit, just a little bit. It's actually been 7 years. But I still think it's like at the time it was a near perfect game, and it was great game. So yeah, Uncharted 2 perfect in my book. I call a lot of things perfect.
Yeah. Well, I do too. Anyways, but Uncharted 2, you can't just talk about one moment. There are so many moments in this game. First being like we keep on talking about that opening scene where just, out of nowhere, we're like Nathan Drake. We're wondering what just happened. You know what I mean? We see him in this train crash, like it's all busted, and you're about to fall off a mountain. Just you have so many questions, about what just happened, and I just think that was personally a great way to open it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. It was a great way to open it, especially with the mystery. There's a mystery, like why is he on this train, and then they do the flashback and the flash forward. Just show you how he got on there. It was really well done, just like to keep you in the action, let you play without it just being a lot of story in the beginning. You get a little bit of story, then you go back to the train, a little bit of story, then you go back to on ground trying to get out of the snow because you're freezing and you have a bullet wound and you have this dagger thing. Like there's so many questions, like what the hell is that thing? Why is he shot? Why was he on a train? Like, and then you find out, of course, later. And that sequence is great too. That whole sequence of him, the train crashing, like it's so many great moments. It really was. I would just say the whole game, in general, the whole maybe 8-9 hour game is just a great experience altogether, and a great moment. Because there's never a dull one, I don't think, especially with dialogue. So yeah. Uncharted 2, Among Thieves. I said perfect. That's perfect for me, but in actuality, it might not be actually perfect. But in my opinion, it's perfect, even with some slight flaws. But I'm not hard to please. So there you go, Uncharted 2.
Well, I personally think it's perfect. I personally don't really see what's wrong with the game. That's just me, of course. But yeah, just opening scene, great. Like the whole thing when, like you said, you're being chased after that truck. Like just right out of nowhere, you're driving, you're talking to Chloe. Then all of a sudden, this truck just hurls at you.
Yeah.
And you get into a car crash, but you start running and shooting. Just that was great. And when you shoot it and it explodes, another great moment. Just something to just get you like, hey, we're never going slow with this game. We're gonna just keep on going, and going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. It never stops. Even when it stops with the explosions, it never stops with characters or like even intrigue. Like times where there's just like looking around and trying to figure out how to like get to the next portion. Like there's even puzzles in this game, slight puzzles, some platforming puzzles. Every one of these Uncharted games we didn't mention, but they have like platforming puzzles and stuff like that where you have to figure out how to get into pretty much the next cavern or something like that. So it definitely is a very Indiana Jones style of adventure where you're trying to find the next artifact to bring you to the next place, pretty much, or the next map or something. It's very well done. It never gets boring. It never feels like you're doing too much of the same thing, and just the characters themselves. Like even if you're doing the same stuff over and over again, it's definitely worth playing just to see what the characters are going to say next, what big surprise is going to happen next with a set piece or whatever. It's great. It really is. It's a beautiful game. I've said that plenty of times, but it is. But yeah.
We can say 1,000 more times because it just deserves it. It really does.
Yeah.
And also another moment I love with Uncharted 2 is the whole thing. Like I said, when you're being chased after a helicopter, where it's you, Nathan Drake, of course, and Chloe. Both of you are being chased after a helicopter.
Yeah.
And that was just great. That was a very intense, high octane chase. Honestly,
Yeah.
I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I didn't know what was going to happen with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you didn't know.
And like, I just love this. I just love this as well. Like, when we're shooting and they're like, do they know there's a huge helicopter after us? Why are they still shooting? Like, just that. I just love it when he kind of points out like some things that we might be thinking. He's not like breaking the fourth wall or anything, but like things we might be thinking of, he kind of points out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I have a feeling, wasn't there a moment in either this one, the first or the third one, where like a building, something was either falling down or something was going wrong, and the guys in the building or the ship or whatever were still shooting at you, and Nate was just like, "Why are you still shooting me? The whole thing's coming down. Like, who cares? Just get out with your life."
Yes, that was the third one where
that was the third one. Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that. But when a certain thing is falling, like they're like he says, why are you guys still shooting at us? There's an entire building falling on us.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why would you still shoot? Why would you care? Like, at that point, you're gonna die. You get out of there or do your job. I'd rather get out of there. And get fired.
Yeah, I love the whole helicopter chase, and when the building's collapsing, you both have to jump into that other building. Just great. I love that with and he said, we were almost in that. Just just like we said, the dialogue is just incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
And the whole thing, the train, the whole train sequence, it's my favorite sequence in a video game now. Like, I love playing that level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just great. I mean, like, just that entire sequence is just, you're on the edge of your seat. You don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just have to keep on going from one end of the train to another, shooting your way towards enemies, climbing things, just, typical Uncharted stuff, but we love it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I just love that about the game. Like, you're just climbing, you're climbing to each end of the train, you're shooting people, and it's just great. And I love that. And then you have Macho Man Randy Savage after you saying, I swear that dude, like, when he has the cap and the sunglasses on, he looks like early 2000s, late 90s, Macho Man Randy Savage. He really does.
I'm gonna have to look him up. I don't remember him.
Like, he has the dagger with him, and it was just, I like that. That's just great. It's a whole entire great sequence, that train sequence.
Yeah.
And like I said, the helicopter. What?
Yeah, no, I do remember. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, this guy. Yeah, I could see that. The macho stuff. Yeah, no, that whole train sequence is excellent.
I mean, and then the helicopter comes back for you. They send another helicopter after you, and that just makes it even better. Like, and there's another thing where like there's a whole bunch of there's more ammo, and Drake says, "Oh, great, more ammo. That's gonna be useful." Like, just against the helicopter, of course, it's not gonna be useful, but
Yeah.
just like I said, he'll just say things to himself, like, like say some things that maybe we're thinking, and he just says them, and I just love that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Definitely.
And then when the helicopter blows up one of the train, like what are they called, the cargo things? I don't know, like
crates, whatever.
Yeah, he blows it up, and like it hurls, like it tumbles around and breaks like a lot of the train tracks and stuff, which that was cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was just it's a game that right when you're done with it, you want to play it again, or at least play sections of it again immediately. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of moments in that game that were incredible.
Yeah, I'm just gonna talk about two more, but
Okay.
To wrap up the train sequence, and also they do tease the tank a little bit in that train sequence, like when he's looking at, he's like, "What do they need a tank for?"
Oh, yeah, I do remember that actually.
Yeah, so they do tease the tank a little bit in that train sequence, which I like. And then, of course, when he tries to rescue Chloe and he gets shot, and he's like, "I've got no other choice but to blow up the train," and that's where it leads into where, of course, you're on the train and you're about to die, basically.
Yeah. So yeah.
And then the last moment I want to talk about is, of course, when you finally discovered Shambhala, and the whole thing with the Guardians and stuff, and when you have to fight Lazarevich. That was a very, very difficult boss fight. Like,
yeah, I
that
remember
was
that being really difficult.
I mean, you have to run and shoot. You know what I mean? Like run, shoot, basically. And it was more or less like kind of like almost sort of like a generic boss fight. You have to run, shoot, throw grenades, and he was unstoppable, honestly. Like, and it was just a great boss fight to to just get your revenge on Lazarevich and stuff for everything that he's done.
Yeah.
But what's weird? Like, I believe Double Toasted pointed this out with like movies. Like, they'll kill a bunch of their minions and stuff, like their henchmen, but they never have the guts to kill the main villain. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the thing in a lot of movies and games. Like that's the thing about the original, not the original Batman on 1960s, but like 1989 Batman, or no, not even that. I think Batman Returns. Batman doesn't want to kill a main bad guy, but he's throwing freaking minions off of buildings and stuff, and he doesn't give a shit about them. But when it gets to this main villain, he's just like, "I'm bringing you to jail. Let's go." And he maybe punches them. But that's one of the things about like original old movies and even like some video games nowadays. It's just like you kill all these guys, and then at the end you just don't kill the main guy. Like I don't know why. And in this one, no, you kill him. He's dead.
Mm-hmm. But
don't you let the whole thing fall on top of him? Is that
yeah. Actually, you let the Guardian. Well, yeah, the thing's destroying and everything, but you let the Guardians beat him to death, basically.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but overall, Uncharted 2, incredible game, just incredible in every aspect. Like, it's just incredible, really well made game in my opinion. It's most certainly the best of the Uncharted series, and well, we'll just have to wait and see when it comes to the fourth one. But so far, it is the best in the Uncharted series.
Yeah,
and it's just something that will always live on as a video game classic, honestly. So, yeah.
True that.
Now let's move on to what was, for now, the final game in the Uncharted series. After the second one where people like, oh, are we going to get a third Uncharted game? Is it going to happen? Then, yes, of course, it was announced. I believe it was at some video game awards that, yes, there will be an Uncharted 3. And, this is what we had. We had Uncharted 3. And our boy here actually got to play it early.
Yeah. I got it early. I got like about a week early. I went to this early play event or something like that in New York City, where you go there and you can play a tournament. You get to watch like a few of the trailers in 3D and stuff. It was a good time. And if you go there, it was like a $50 ticket. You get the game early, so you get the game actually cheap if you just go there, go to New York City. And I live pretty close to New York City, so I went there. It was a lot of fun, and I got the game like maybe like 5 days early, so almost a week. And I beat that game before it even came out. I loved it. It was a terrific game. A lot of people, I think more in retrospect, they don't like it as much as any of the other ones. The other two, maybe not the PS Vita game, but most people say that's the weakest one. I wouldn't say that. I think Uncharted 3 is a game that takes all the gameplay from the second and the first one and refines it, makes it better. Even the combat, like we don't even talk about the combat. A lot of the actual fist fighting it's so much better.
I talked about the combat here and there and saying how good it is, but it is the best actually in this game.
Yeah. I didn't talk about it, which I should have, because the fist fighting in Uncharted 1 and 2 is good, but in the third one, like the beginning of the game is you're in a bar and you just like start fist fighting dudes, and that was a really, really cool way to start the game, because that is the beginning of the game, right? You just start fist fighting.
Yeah, it's like, you talk to Talbin, and then like you find out like, oh, he ripped you off and stuff, and then you start fighting a bunch of these people in the bar.
And compared to the way like Uncharted 2 started, where there's a whole train and you're trying to climb up before it falls, it's a little low key in this one just to start with a bar fight. But the bar fight's really good. You fight this one dude and you're going into like the bathroom and you're like beating him. You're trying to fight him, but he's like more tougher than you and stuff. And there's a lot of great stuff in that. And I feel like they were really proud of their combat, their fist fighting, modifications or just like improvements in this one, because there was a lot more, I remember. There was a lot more times where the game said, all right, here's a section where you can easily fist fight a bunch of dudes, and you just go up and you just like start fist fighting them, and you shoot a couple of them and you run up to another one and fist fight. It was just way more entertaining when it came to that. The shooting itself was just about the same. It was a little bit more improved, more refined. The cover system, all that stuff. It was definitely a more refined game when it came to gameplay. The story itself was great as well, and the dialogue was just as top-notch as it was before. The only problem I had with the story, and this is my only problem with the story, is that they do that thing in every sequel. They do it all the time, where for some reason the two people that loved each other in the last two games, they don't love each other anymore because of reasons. Huh?
Because of things that we never actually get an explanation for.
Yeah. I'm assuming it's because he likes to find treasure. He likes to go out and chart stuff. And he's just not. It's just not. I don't know. It felt so generic. Like guess what happens at the end of this game? They get back together. Big surprise. I would have never guessed that. That's probably my only negative about the story. Besides that, all the characters. The new character, what's his name? Cutter. That's his name, right? Where you find out at first he was a villain, and then you find out he's actually one of your buddies. And I thought he was great. He's actually voiced by the same guy that did the voice acting for the villain of Uncharted 2. What's his name again?
Lazarevich.
Yeah, he is the same voice actor too, so I thought that was strange.
Yeah.
And he's a likable character. There's a lot of great banter. There's a lot more puzzles in this one. I remember there was one puzzle that got me like stumped for a little while. I actually had to stop playing it for like 5 minutes and think about it. Like I had to pause it and go, all right, let me think about this. So there's more challenge when it came to that stuff, and there's just more refinement. The game itself, tons of set pieces. There's one that I absolutely love, where the cargo plane where it explodes, and he's like he hangs on to the crate that's flying, and he's just hanging on it, and he's just seeing people like fly out of it and stuff. And there's some really great moments. And yeah, Uncharted 3 is a great game. I love that game too. It's close to Uncharted 2 in some aspects, but overall Uncharted 2 is maybe the more surprising. It was more surprising how amazing that game was. So that's probably why that one's a little bit better. So yeah, no, Uncharted 3 is a great game. I loved it. So There you go.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I personally love Uncharted 3 as well. I don't really get the mixed reception it got from audiences, not from
Yeah,
critics. Critics praised the game. It was more or less the audience of like the Uncharted audience that was really mixed about the game, and I didn't understand that like at all.
me neither.
But yeah, I thought it was great. It had some it it has some of the best gameplay in the entire series. Has one of the best stories, honestly, in the entire series. Like, has some of the best villains, some of the best character moments. Like, if you thought like the first two games didn't have enough with Drake and Sully, trust me, the third game has. That's the main focus of this game. Actually,
Yeah. Oh
is the
yeah.
relationship between Drake and Sully. That is the main aspect of this game, and I love that. That was great, because in the first two games we do see the relationship and stuff, but it was never fully expanded. In this, it's fully expanded, and you can understand why they're like almost a father and son. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like
And
we'll
it's
get
great
that.
now.
We'll get more of that in Uncharted 4 too.
Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, that's actually one thing I forgot to mention. That's one of my other favorite moments. Is I think it's right after the bar fight. You go back in time and you see young Drake trying to steal something, and then Sully just becomes his mentor pretty much after. After I think he successfully does it, and Sully's like impressed. He's like, "All right, I'm going to take that kid under my
It becomes
wing."
his Yoda in some ways.
Yeah, yeah, and I really like that moment. And yeah, no, overall, it did a great job of like relationships between the characters, not just comedic like lines, like haha, funny. There's some good drama. There's one part in the game where I'm just like, oh no, I was like upset, and then you find out it's not true.
We'll get
Yeah,
to that.
yeah, yeah. I didn't spoil it. That's why I wasn't saying.
Yeah, we'll get to that later on, like when we
Yeah,
talk about our moments and stuff.
yeah,
But just yeah, it has some great character moments, like you said, with the whole thing with Sully and stuff. Like in the last game, there was not that much of Sully. In
no,
the last game, it's like and there was a lot of Elena. This is reversed. There's not that much of Elena, and there's a whole bunch of Sully. You know what I mean?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and I also like the new characters they introduced, like Cutter and like Talib. I think that's what his name was, and Marlowe. Yeah, Marlowe.
Okay, yeah,
No, not Marlowe.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, but like she was a former love for Sully, and she was a great villain as well. Some great new characters added to the game, and Chloe came back, which that was very surprising for me because I don't know, I thought they were like done with her after the second game.
Yeah, I thought that was surprising. I didn't think she was gonna come back. Yeah, no, her name was Marlo. You're right.
Oh, Marlo. Okay, yeah. So yeah, that was surprising because like I said, I only played the Nathan Drake collection, so I was like, because I thought it was like one and done with her character, but no, they actually brought her back for Uncharted 3, which that was cool. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna bring her back for the next one. I have a feeling maybe not, but
I don't think so, but you never know.
yeah, you never know. She could just show up randomly. I wouldn't be surprised if she does, but I don't think we'll be seeing people like Cutter. I don't think we'll be seeing him.
Yeah.
Which actually that's a shame because actually Cutter, I remember really liking him. He reminded me of like a more funny version of Jason Statham. Every time I saw him, I was like, it's Jason Statham. He looked just like him. I was like, I had to look it up. I had to make sure it wasn't Jason Statham. And no, it wasn't. But I really enjoyed his character. He was funny. He was likable. And everybody else, of course, was great. All the new characters, the main villain, the new one, she was pretty. It was different. It was unique to have someone like her be the villain because she's not the last villain where he's all like he's all muscle bound and stuff. Like he was tough looking. He was kind of villainous. She was like, she was stern looking, but she wasn't. It didn't look like she'd break your neck if you talk bad about her.
That's what she had Talbot for.
Yeah, Talbot, who whatever his name was, who at first seemed like he was immortal, but then you find out he's not. which was weird because
Here's
when
the
you
thing,
shoot him and he disappears.
they never explain how,
Yeah,
because he got shot and he immediately comes back. They never explain, does he have like immortal powers? They just completely ignore that.
yeah. They could have easily just said he had a bulletproof vest, but they didn't say that because he got shot in the chest too. It's not like he got shot in the head, right?
Yeah, he didn't get shot in the head. Exactly, he got shot in
Yeah,
the chest. So
yeah. So they could have just said he had a bulletproof vest. They didn't even say that. It was just he comes back and that's it. And then he gets killed for real, and he ain't come back from that because doesn't he like fall off of something? Like I remember him and Nathan were
yes,
just like fighting, and then he just like falls off something.
yeah, because he got shot. Like he was about to kill Sully, and then he got shot. So
Yeah. There you go.
fell off.
Yeah.
But
So you got.
yeah, just I love Uncharted 3. I think it's a great third installment, and I just like I said, I don't see why people. I never see someone hate Uncharted 3. They're very mixed about it.
Yeah.
Like I think it could have been like it is almost as great as Uncharted 2 in my opinion. This
Mhm.
has this has the best this has the best like hand-to-hand combat system out of all the games. It has the best set pieces, honestly. Like visually, this is like beyond a video game. Especially when you get to a certain sequence, which we'll talk about, of course, when we talk about our moments. But yeah, just beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, the game. And it was a bit slow at first, but I didn't mind that. It was trying to build to what they were doing, and it started picking up more. I actually think it's the slowest out of the three,
Yeah.
but that's not a bad thing in my opinion. That's actually a good thing. It took its time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It slowed down more when it came to set pieces and stuff. Definitely.
I don't know why I keep on saying you know what I mean. Even
Yeah, I know what it means. Always want to know if I know what it means.
yeah,
But yeah, no, it
but
was. What'd you say?
oh no, I was letting you talk. Sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, it was. It's one of those games that I don't like. It's exactly like you made the connection. Like it's kind of like the Dark Knight series before. I think that was before we started recording, where
Yes.
yeah, Batman Begins people really liked. It didn't do that great, money wise, but a lot of people liked it and it got enough. It made enough to make a sequel. And the second one, everybody loves. No one has any complaints. It's perfect to many people's in many people's eyes. And then the third one, so many people have there's even like plot holes in this game, just like there was in Dark Knight Rises. Even though I wouldn't call most of those plot holes. But there's a lot of errors, I guess, in storytelling in both, and some people just were a little fatigued, I guess, at that point, maybe. So it is very similar when you consider, I mean, they're both different things. They're both
They're different things, but in
yeah.
terms of like receptions from critics and audiences, it's kind of the same.
Yeah, because critics loved Dark Knight Rises. That had great reviews, but then audience, you look and it's like, most of them loved it, but there was like a lot of people like, I don't know, it's not as good as the last one. I'm sure it was even the same thing with this game where they're saying like the villain from the last game was way better. Just like they were saying with Dark Knight Rises where the villain in the last movie was better. And there's a lot of stuff. So it is actually a very accurate example of a trilogy that's similar.
Only difference is that this one got a fourth installment.
Yeah, this one's getting a fourth one, and now, well, I got Batman v Superman, and that didn't get good reviews. So hopefully, Uncharted 4 gets a better. But Uncharted 4, I'm sure will get a better reception than Batman v Superman. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Uncharted 3. Now let's of course let's talk about some of the moments. Moments that really define, like we did of course with the first two games. Moments that were really defining the games. I'm gonna let my boy go first.
Okay. All right. So I mentioned the part in the beginning with the bar fight. I really like that. I think it starts off the game very well, and then of course I think it goes either right to the past stuff with Nathan, or I think it starts off with the past stuff. I can't remember.
No. Here's what happened. Cutter shot both of them, and then when they're passed out, it goes.
Yeah, I remember that now. So I like both of those, actually. I like both of those scenes. The bar fight was a really good way to introduce the gameplay and stuff, and then get right into the story. And it goes into the past. I thought that was great stuff. Really made me like the characters even more than I already did, and makes them way more relatable and likable. Even more than they already were. One of my other favorite scenes I said before is the cargo plane that goes down during in the middle of the desert, and that's just a great. Visually, that was a great scene because there's a part where you're hanging off just like this. I guess it was a crate that has a parachute going down, and you're just hanging off it, and you're just seeing all this stuff like pieces of the plane fly by. I think that a couple of the pieces like hit your crate that you're attached on to, and you're like barely holding on and stuff. It was great. Like there's a whole point where you're just like you're flying, you jump out of the freight plane and you land onto that crate too. That was great. I just rhymed. I didn't realize that. But it was a excellent scene. I love that part. That almost was as good as the train sequence from Uncharted 2. I thought. Yeah, that part was really awesome. At the end, there's a whole point, and this was the one that was like, it left me emotional, and then you find out it's not true. Where they've made it clear that there's times where Nathan has like episodes where he can't tell what's real and what's not because he gets shot with that what was it, like a poison or something like that?
No, here's what happened. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. They drank from the water.
Okay.
And like Nathan started becoming we find out later on he was hallucinating because of the water, but yeah. So, I know what you're leaning into.
Yeah. So he sees Sully get shot by, I think it was Talbot, right? That shoots him.
Yes.
And it looks like Sully's dead, and then of course Nathan goes on pretty much a killing spree. And then he finds out it's not true. Sully's fine, but that moment was really touching too.
That's my only problem with the game. Here's how my only problem with Uncharted 3 was the whole thing. Like that was a nice character moment. Like I thought like that could be a nice character moment for Drake and everything, and then when you find out it's a whole hallucination and thing, it makes sense. But I just thought it was a cop out in many.
Yeah, it was a fake out that was just there for like surprise value, and then
yes, and plus the fact that you had already Sully fake his death in the first game.
Yeah,
like to do it again, like that's just cheap.
It was a little cheap, yeah. In the first game, like when he supposedly died, I didn't really feel too much because I only knew him for about 30 minutes tops.
Yeah,
but
I was like, and I even had some suspicion that he wasn't dead. Like I was like, this seems too weird to just kill him off like that. So, but in this game, you're like emotional because you've been with this character for almost 3 entire games now.
Yeah, like at that point, it's like 30, like maybe almost 30 hours of gameplay. Like,
exactly.
And so you've been with him for a little while, and then he just gets shot, and I think he doesn't like just fall off the thing or something like that.
No, like Nate has him in his arms and like puts him down.
And then he puts him down. Doesn't the thing like topple though? Also, when he's trying to get out of there, I don't remember, but I'm trying to make it more dramatic in my head, I guess. But yeah, no, that was a touching moment too. It was sad, and then you're just like, all right, now I want to kill things, and then you find out it's not true. But yeah, but I thought that was a good moment until the fake out, where I mean, not that I want Sully to die. I'm just saying that moment was really good. If you're gonna kill Sully,
I didn't want Sully to die either, but just it was a real cop out for what was such an emotional and great moment.
Yeah, if you're gonna kill Sully, that would have been a nice death. Not a good death, but I don't think getting shot in the back is a good death.
Like a nice way to handle it.
Yeah, a very good
way to handle it and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Besides that, there's a lot of really good moments, like the ship. Like there's a part where he's on the ship and it just topples over, and that was a really good moment too. Especially with the pirate. There's a whole sequence where he's like talking to that pirate, where he's like like Nathan says something that's insults him. He's like, "You're insulting me." He's like, "You're a pirate." Like,
You're a pirate.
You're a pirate. Like, there's a lot of really good moments with dialogue, with even side characters like that pirate.
Ooh.
Like that pirate shows up for about 20 minutes in the game, and that's it. Like, doesn't get killed off in that ship. Like, he's gone after that.
But man, one of my favorite dialogue moments is when Cutter is talking to Drake, and like he says, "Why didn't you guys pick up your phone?" And Cutter says, "Hey, I got boosted up on my mitts." And Drake's like, "You have a prepaid like a payphone?" And he said, "What? Those contracts are a ripoff, mate." Like,
contracts are a ripoff, mate. Yeah, that's good stuff. But yeah, just like there's a lot of great moments in that game overall, just like in the other two. That's Uncharted in a nutshell. Is great characters great characters, and just them taking a part in great set pieces. And it's, I don't know, it's a great series when it comes to visual, and if you really like dialogue, it's a great series. And Uncharted 3 has plenty of amazing moments. So those are my moments I really liked. So I don't know.
Yeah, most of the moments you mentioned are mine too. Like, like the whole opening scene. And a lot of people, I don't think they talk about when it comes to that opening scene, when you see them walking to the bar. And I just like the music that they're playing, and shows them walking, then shows the bar, shows them walking. Just how it was executed, the way they did that was really cool in my opinion.
Right.
And then the whole bar scene, like when you're fighting the people and stuff, and you actually can use the objects around you this time, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Then of course the young Drake flashbacks were great. I loved seeing young Drake and seeing how the relationship between him and Sully started. That was great too.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the ship, that was very intense as well. Man, just that whole entire, I believe it was 3 chapters you had to do on that ship. Like, you had to get in chapter 12, you had to get to the ship. Then chapter 13, was you were almost to the ship. And then chapter 14, you were on the ship.
And then the ship capsizes. And you're like, oh.
Yes.
And now you have to get off the ship. Which that's a great moment too, where he's like the ship's like flipping over, and he's like, "Oh my god, that's a big wave," and he's like running away.
or when he's trying to get onto the ship, he's like, "Don't leave without me, boys," and then he gets kicked in the head.
Yeah,
great stuff. And then when you see the ship crashing, and then when the pirate's like, see you later, Drake, and then like he shoots the huge window, and then boom, water starts coming in, and you have to. I just love that tracking shot where you're just running, and the water is coming behind you.
Yeah, that reminded me of the one from Uncharted 2, where he's like running away from the truck. It was like the same exact shot pretty much, except it was water. You couldn't shoot the water.
Except it was something which I think is much more deadly of water, because there's a whole bunch of water, like within an instant you could drown. So, but exactly. But I just love that whole entire boat sequence in general. That was just excellent, the way they did that whole boat sequence. The thing most people talk about with this game, the plane sequence.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
And I just love how the way it starts out, like Drake just mistakenly runs into the big dude, like he's trying to get through the escape door, and then the big dude just like hurls him out of the thing, and then he's about to throw him out of the drop area. Just great.
Yeah.
And the plane's about to crash, and I just loved it. Yeah. Just an excellent sequence. And for a video game at the time, there was really nothing that could compare to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nothing that comes to mind. Like that game came out at the same time as stuff like Skyrim. And Skyrim, it never had moments like that. That's why I would say Uncharted is better than Skyrim. Even like Arkham City. I'm just remembering games that came out the same year.
Oh, I think this is better than both of those games. That's just me, of course. You
Yeah.
know,
Gameplay wise, I like Arkham City a little bit more, but there's no moment in Arkham City where I'm just like, oh yeah, like there's no part where Batman's jumping out of a cargo plane and in the middle of
and
the
he's
desert.
flying
So
through the air and he has to find a an actual cargo to try and bring
yeah,
himself down. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like he's flying through the air and he pretty much smacks right into the cargo, the crate that's just flying in the air. And it has like a parachute on it too, so it's I mean, it's all coincidence, but that's Nathan Drake's. That's pretty much his.
mentality.
Yeah, that's his whole character is that he survives by coincidence, you know.
Yes.
Also, he's made out of steel because
Yes.
most of
But,
the most of his accidents that happen where he falls down, most people would be jelly inside. But him, he's tough. You can't kill him. No, sir.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there is even a whole chapter where nothing happens. You're just walking through the desert.
Yeah.
Now, could that be boring? It's one of the most interesting things in the entire game because you're just walking through this abandoned desert, and it just is visually stunning. Like, it's the best. Like I keep on saying, it's the best looking game out of all three of the games. Well, of course, Uncharted 4 will beat that for sure, but it just looks so beautiful.
Yeah, especially when you're walking through the desert, and like every time you step, like the sand like starts to fall down from where you stepped and stuff. Like there's so much detail in that desert. Like
I love this, and even with the second game with like the snow, when you're rolling in it, it will actually get on you. Like,
yeah.
Because in some video games it will be like, oh, you roll in the dirt. Oh, no dirt's on you. No, you roll into the not dirt, sand. When you roll into the sand, it's all over you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I like that. That's just nice detailing.
Yeah, Naughty Dog knows how to do detail well. Even there are stuff like Last of Us. Maybe not Jack and Daxter, but that's a little different. But Last of Us, like they do detail just like that too. Like if they go through the water, a lot of games do this, but if they go through the water, their clothes will stay wet for a little while. They do that in Uncharted. They do that in a lot of games, but they know how to do it very well with small details, and it makes it feel more real, even if some of the stuff that's happening is very unrealistic. So yeah, no, Uncharted 3 is an excellent game. I don't understand any of the problems that people have. Like I can't even think what could be a problem really that is so much that it will make you not like the game. Like I could see maybe some story stuff, but besides that, I don't understand.
Yeah. And the last moment I do want to talk about is like when they do discover the whole city and everything. Mm-hmm. And then, like we said, the whole thing with the Sully death and everything. Mm-hmm. Like I said, that's my biggest problem with the game because, like I said, it felt like a cop-out. It felt like something, something that could have been great, but once again was a cop-out and a fake-out.
Yeah.
But like I said, cool that Sully's still alive, but
yeah.
You had me going. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was almost tearing up, man. Like there was tears almost coming out of my eyes because it was just the way it was executed was so emotional.
Yeah, it was very emotional. And then you have to play the game, like you actually have to like shoot guys and stuff. I remember you have to like get out of there or something like that. You have to do something. I'm just thinking like, is Sully really dead? Like,
oh yeah, the supernatural element that comes in.
Yeah.
The demons, the fire demons.
Yeah. I remember them.
Like, well. That was like my least favorite. Like I'm like, really, that's the best you could have come up with like for the supernatural element of the game, just fire demons.
Yeah, that's probably my only main gripe with Uncharted is that every Uncharted game has a city that has some supernatural thing in it, and then guess what? They have to run out of the city before it topples down and gets destroyed, and that's it. Like,
well, technically, Uncharted 1, they didn't have to get out of a city because it was tumbling.
There was there a city in Uncharted 1? I can't remember.
No, it was just El Dorado. It was just like a statue.
Yeah, okay. So they had to go somewhere. They go there. They don't get the thing they're going for, and then supernatural stuff happens. So that's probably a better explanation, and it's always like at the end. Like I think Uncharted 1, he grabbed some treasure or something, so he had some money, something that he
Sully
could sell.
grabbed like
Yeah,
bunch
Sully
of
grabs some stuff. So, but it's always at the end. It's just like they never get anything. Like, so the whole journey's just like, all right, we found it, but no one will ever believe us. We never got anything to prove it, and it's just like, all right, well, but we love each other, right, Elena? And then the next game, they don't love each other anymore. In this game, Uncharted 4, it looks like they're already married. So at least in Uncharted 4, it's not going to be like, oh, they don't love each other again. And then the whole game.
I think like, Uncharted 4 will be the most different out of all the games, honestly.
Yeah. I really hope so. I hope it's at the end, maybe they find a city and like, oh, it's not crumbling. That's it. That's how it ends.
But like we were saying, the city does crumble. They have to get out of there.
Yeah.
And Marlo dies from the quicksand. And I'm gonna miss the ring on Drake's neck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss seeing the ring on his neck.
Yeah.
But yeah. And with the whole thing with the city and everything, I thought that was a really good cutscene. Like when you're having to jump across all the platforms and stuff. And surprisingly enough, I actually completed that in one go, which I was really surprised by.
Oh, I don't remember if I did. I remember there was one part where I had to keep restarting it because I kept dying. But I don't think I had any problems with the challenge of the game. Yeah, there was there even really that much of a boss fight at the end? You fight Talbot, but is that it? I think you just fight him. That's it.
That wasn't really a boss fight. I'm not gonna lie, that was really not a boss fight. You just had to smash a bunch of buttons. That really wasn't.
It
was still enjoyable. That was still really cool. Like,
yeah,
that was still a really cool little fight that they had at the end. But yeah, Uncharted 3, great game. I love it. It's definitely a worthy success, like worthy to the the first two games, and I do think it's almost as great as Uncharted 2, honestly.
Yeah, it's close. There's just some stuff that I wish wasn't in Uncharted 3, like the whole fake out. But yeah, no, it was a really good game, and it's a really good series, and hopefully Uncharted 4 knocks it out of the park and ends it on an extremely high note.
Yeah.
If it ends up being the best one, that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, that's it.
We
pretty much it. Went through all three games. We talked about the history behind these games. We talked about experiences with them, some of our favorite moments in this entire series, and we are, as of when we're making this video, 9 days away from the final adventure. The last time we will ever see Nathan Drake. I mean, I'm looking for it. I have never been this excited for a video game in probably my entire life. This is an event. It really is. This is something that we're gonna remember forever. Like, you know how like our parents tell us about some of the games they played back in the day. We're gonna tell our kids about Uncharted. We're gonna tell them how great Uncharted was, how much of a series that it impacted us in a way, and definitely Uncharted 4 should be the one that, ends it perfectly. You know what I mean? And I'm very much looking forward to it. I know there's just no way this game can't be bad or a disappointment. There's just no possible way.
Yeah, it won't be bad. There's no way. Even early copies have, people have said it's amazing so far. So luckily I haven't had anything spoiled. So I'm really looking forward to it. 9 days. I mean, it could get here a little quicker, but
we could have had the game by now. We really think about it.
It was originally supposed to come out like 2 weeks ago, and then they delayed it again.
Oh, last week.
Yeah, last week. We could have had it last week, but they had to refine a couple more pixels. So they had to smooth out some pixels. So now we have to wait another 9 days. So
yeah. All right, so that is it, guys. Thank you all for watching the history of Uncharted with, of course, my special guest of the evening, Gore the Movie God. Where can they find you?
You can find me, Gore, G-O-R, the Movie God on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter, Goracus, Gracus. That's about it.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm probably going to do more of these maybe when like Finding Dory comes out, I'll do one for the history of Pixar. Maybe when Doctor Strange comes out, I'll do a history of the MCU. You know, I want to do more of these. This was really fun. I had an enjoyable time doing this with GorTheMovieGod. So maybe I might do more of these in the future. So yeah. So I'd like to thank you all once again for watching. I would like to thank GorTheMovieGod for joining me.
You're welcome.
So
It's
yeah,
fun time.
I hope you. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I am WWE Fan 0599, and we will see you all later. Peace.
Peace.